The important thing for manufacturers, particularly in this country, is economies of scale. We're a very small economy, and what's happened with the strong rand, it's reduced our exports and also encouraged imports, which have come in particularly from China, and with unfair advantages. And so a lot of our manufacturers have had their demand cut back. There's also a lot of capacity in the marketplace, which was put in for our bullish period up to 2008. And so that spare capacity added to the additional economies of scale, which we should get from exports and import replacement, should more than offset the imported cost of the rand factor.
So for you, a rand above 8 is better than, of course, a rand below 7?
Well, I think it's essential. If we're going to create jobs in this country across the board, there's no other way. We need to rand, I believe, at 8.50. In fact, the right level for the rand, if we take the inflation differentials going back to 2005, is about 9.20. But that may be too severe. We don't want that. But a rand between 8 and 8.50 would, I think, give manufacturers a new boost, and I think would encourage them to go and find new exports, and reduce imports. The other problem, of course, is the volatility of the rand. You know, how long is the rand going to stay? You ask any economist, he'll say he's not sure where the rand's going to be.
But as Marcus says, subject to the vagaries of risk sentiment, we really can't control the type of inflows that we see, and the rand really a function of that.
I think we can do more. I mean, she's right to some extent, but I was very disappointed to see interest rates weren't cut. I think it was a very timid reaction. If we are going to create jobs, and everybody wants to, we've got to be bold. We've got to do things like Brazil is doing. And I think we should have cut interest rates. I think we should also put an investment tax in, and show a will to have a more competitive currency. There's no other way of creating jobs. I'm sorry. You could look at what's happened over the last 5 years, and all we've had is attrition of jobs. Yeah. So we need a more competitive exchange rate.
Brazil, you talk about Brazil recently heightening those import tariffs. What type of protection does South Africa need to offer to local manufacturers in order to protect against cheap imports from China?
Well, I think we're not scared of competition, but it's got to be fair competition. At the moment, the playing fields are not level. I think we need ITAC to be a lot quicker, and a lot more nurturing of our industry. We're not looking for protection. All we're looking for is a level playing field. So I'd like to see a situation where ITAC helps business a lot more and a lot quicker, and looks to nurture our business by applying dumping duties, and looking at protection or nurturing in other forms of duties. Very important.
Does the South African government appear reluctant to slap on those import duties to Chinese firms?
I think it's a very difficult question. On the one hand, they want to create jobs, and that's a necessity. On the other hand, there is this political charm with China. But quite honestly, we must do what the United States has done, and Obama's gone out and buy American. I'm very pleased to see that the government now has formulated this preferential procurement program, which comes into effect on the 7th of December. And the private sector too has been asked to support it, and certainly from our manufacturing circle, we're encouraging the support of local companies to buy South African, and that way create jobs and get manufacturing back on its feet.
Rob Davies has come out saying that they're going to be fine-tuning their policy with regards to the manufacturing sector in the mini-budget in October. What type of changes, apart from the preferential procurement policy, might we be seeing from government?
Well, I certainly believe they're putting a substantial sum into assisting government, and I think what we need is probably cheaper finance through the IDC. I think the IDC has moved somewhat, and certainly our experience has shown that in the last couple of weeks we've had the IDC helping distressed companies in a much more expeditious way. So I think finance is one. But the other thing I would like to see is to see these duties come in, and if there is dumping, for us to react much quicker than we have been, and be a lot more supportive of manufacturing industry and nurture it.
Exports are down, and they haven't recovered to the pre-recession levels. Which export markets are suffering the most, and are there any glimmers of hope?
Well, I think one of the problems we have, of course, is the downturn in world trade. Whether we're heading for a double-dip recession, hopefully not, and that has put a damper on it. But South Africans are very resourceful. And I'm pretty confident, and I hear from members of our circle that with the rand having gone above the 8 level, they have gone out already and have got new contracts. Of course, there is a delayed effect because many of the big exporters have forward cover for 3 to 6 months. But they are going out and looking for new contracts, and as Rob Davies has suggested we do, and I think we're doing that. And I think that itself is going to help the level of employment and level of activity in our sector, provided again the rand stays above 8 for a considerable period of time.
And of course we don't go into a double-dip recession.
Sure, but I think South Africa can weather that. If we protect ourselves against unfair imports, and we really go out and find exports, I think we can turn it around very quickly.
Are there growth areas when it comes to exports away from the developed world?
Yes, there are, but it's a lot more difficult to exploit them, because they are very protectionist. If you have a look at Asia, if you have a look at South America as well, they have many duties. They have many barriers to entry. You know, quite honestly, we have thrown open our economy too much, and we've crippled an emerging industry, and that's our problem. So it's much more difficult for us to export to Southeast Asia and South America. We can do it. In fact, I mean, our company itself, we're exporting a lot at the moment to South America and India very successfully. So those opportunities are there, but our traditional markets of Europe and the United States, to a lesser extent, because exporting to the United States is quite expensive, but Europe will always remain a very important market for us.